If you carry a firearm and discharge your weapon in self-defense, you could face hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees and expenses. So carry the protection of CCW Safe, Self-Defense Legal Services membership. Upfront payment of all criminal and civil defense costs with no out-of-pocket for members.
And we are back. Khalid Mohammed here with you from Command 11. This is the weekly Command 11 sit rep. My good friend S2 on board with us tonight. We've got an interesting episode for you. There's a lot going on, and there's a lot to talk about. Tonight, we're going to talk about insurgency politics, what's been going on with the Democrats, with Antifa, with the radical Islam, the cartels, everyone who's playing games and trying to destroy the U.S. and how they're trying to destroy the United States. We're going to go into detail with that. S2, how are you tonight?
I'm doing great. I have a piece of advice for everybody, though. If you ever buy an old truck, do not run fuel injection cleaner through
it. Are you having trouble with your baby again?
Yes. I clearly have knocked something loose and it is not functioning properly.
Oh man, I remember the pictures of your truck, man. They're beautiful. That's a beautiful truck.
Yeah, I'll get it sorted out. I mean, it's an older truck, so it's easier to work on, and I understand these vehicles, but yeah, don't run fuel injection cleaner through an old truck. They don't like it. just leave it alone.
All right, let's jump into the conflicted question, then we'll run through our links and we'll jump back into our conversation.
Okay, here we go. For all of you new folks out here, this is how this works. We have a conflicted game deck that we pull a card from, and we read one of the cards back to you at the beginning of the show. At the end of the show, we'll read the same question back to you again, but we want to see what your answers to this question is at the end of the show. So here we go. The president made a phone call to Lieutenant Colonel Barone, a man who talked his entire unit into mutinying. He disregarded his orders and took advantage of an event to turn his back on his country when it needed him most. If you were the president dealing with this situation, what would you tell Colonel Barone? Oh, that's an easy one.
Oh yeah, that's an easy one. That's an easy one. But we'll hold off on the answer to that one till the end of the episode. We're delving into a topic tonight that S2 and I are very, very familiar with. We both have been working insurgencies and terrorism and all kinds of things that affect nations from ground level, from grassroots level, and create problems. Tonight we're going to go through, and this is I'm going to give you a very simple summary before we pop up the links. What we're going to do is we're going to run through radical Islam. We're going to run through Antifa. We're going to run through election manipulation. We're going to run through the different games that have been going on between the Democrats and the American people. And as part of that, we're going to talk about propaganda and how X and Facebook and these social media platforms are used. There's a lot of stuff going on that many people don't catch. And all of those things are building up and either going to push America to civil war or, God forbid, set the stage for 9/11 2.0. And some of the things we're going to show you, if you're not following Command 11 on X, this will be the first time you see it. So we want to see your comments over in the side because you guys know we pick up questions. If we see a question flow through on the side, it's a good question. We'll pick up that question. We'll answer that question as well. But this is probably going to be a two Tuesday episode series. We're going to probably do one episode this Tuesday and one episode next Tuesday. because it is election day in the US, and a lot of people are expecting the communists to take over New York City. Um, and we want to see what the effect is after that, because 5th November, the Democrats have planned a rally to try and overthrow Trump, which we only see in the third world. We've never seen that happen in the US. So we're gonna hold off on some of the things we're talking about until next Tuesday, and then round this thing back up on next Tuesday. So Nick, if you want to put up the first link. All right. Uh, Matt Tardio is good friend. He has done a lot of work on ground in helping people understand what's going on in the U.S. He's been at a lot of the Antifa rallies, but the other day he popped this story up. Hey Matt, I need advice. I used to do security at DFW Airport. We were told to ignore fake passports for the construction workers. Should I report? Now, when you're ignoring passports that are fake and allowing them to get on airplanes, you are literally opening the door to every terrorist getting on a flight. We've talked about this a number of times during the regular SDN Long War series about how the TSA has been compromised, to say the least. How it's been infiltrated by a number of people that can do a lot of damage to the U.S. The problem we're looking at now is that we are literally seeing the same thing that happened during Mayorkas's run as head of Customs and Border Patrol. You are giving a green light to everybody who does not belong on an airplane the right to get on an airplane. S2, do you want to throw a comment in before we move on to and just roll through the tweets?
Well, the question I have with this, okay, so now we don't have to take our shoes off anymore at the airport. Yay. They don't have the scanning equipment to find what it is that Sarah has pointed out. They have these invisible bomb vests and things like that. They don't have the scanning equipment. So, in my view, I look at things as what did we do before 9/11? What did we do before the Patriot Act, before we had TSA and all of these other things? What did
Yep,
we do? We basically had buried our heads in the sand, so to speak, and thought that nobody could get on our planes and nobody could do those things. And in the past, that may have been true because a lot of things were interdicted because we had certain agencies that were actually doing their jobs. But now we have the FBI, which has been compromised and remains to be compromised, which I'm sure we're going to get into at some point tonight,
yep,
somehow, some way.
yep, yep,
Um, we have the CIA, which has always been compromised since day one, and neither one of these organizations will trade into intel back and forth between each other because they're in the middle of a dick measuring contest.
yep,
So where does that leave us? We basically leaves us with U.S. citizens that are the watchtower guards at this point because the inmates are running the asylum.
yeah. Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. Yeah, we're gonna get into the FBI because last week we've had some very interesting things happen with the FBI that have created a lot of problems and a lot of questions. But
Oh
let's
yeah.
let's move, let's move through the links, then we'll go back to our new format of just talking these things out, because I'm really starting to get worried. To be really open and honest. Uh, Sarah again is raising this, and this is something that we really need to start calling senators and start calling congressmen, and calling departments and saying, what the hell. The number of reports coming in from statewide fusion centers that the threat alert developed by the National Counterterrorism Center are not being distributed down through the ranks. Um, that means you're literally saying, screw you, you don't know what you're talking about. You're telling counterterrorism departments that they don't know what they're talking about when it comes to terrorism. And the FBI is saying, no, 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 we know better. Now, I'm gonna touch on this for a second. I think it was last week, Kash Patel had a blow up with Tulsi Gabbard in a cabinet meeting, nonetheless, where he said that the FBI should be responsible for all counterintelligence. I don't trust the FBI with counterintelligence because you don't have any boots on the ground in foreign countries, so you don't know what's going on over there, and you don't know who to talk to over there. And for you to say that because we are the domestic law enforcement arm of the U.S. government, we should be responsible for counterintelligence. That is, you're playing in boots that are much bigger than you should be playing in. And the arrest over last week, at the end of last week, of the quote unquote ISIS cell that was in Michigan. We're going to get into this, but that arrest was rushed. Of 5 ISIS terrorists, you caught 2. You didn't catch the handler in New York, which there was regular communication, regular movement back and forth with. You didn't target and catch the people in Iraq and Syria and Afghanistan that they were talking to. So because you wanted to prove you were better than the CIA and all 16 of the intelligence organizations that operate inside the United States, you blew a major arrest. And when you read the indictment on this, and I said this in last night's show as well, if you read the 73-page indictment, it is word for word the 9/11 2.0 attack. And for me, Cash needs to wake up and realize that you don't know how to investigate a crime. You don't know how to investigate terrorism in any way, shape, or form. And it's been proven in the past 8-9 months that he's been director of FBI. The FBI has become so compromised. And there's a tweet down the line that we're going to talk about, where we're going to talk about how they're compromised. But what they've done has really screwed America's national security. And I'm really worried about Kash Patel staying in the position. You had Seb Gorka that was screwing American counterterrorism around the world. Now you've got Kash Patel saying, oh, well, no, I know better than Tulsi does, and I know better than Joe Kent does, and let me run the show. Where's this coming from, Stu?
Seb Gorka. It's coming from Seb Gorka. I basically just rounded up the entire show with my first monologue.
Yeah, but Stu, here's my question. I mean, the FBI is already compromised. I mean, we've known that since the Christopher Wray days, that the FBI was compromised, and well before that, it was compromised as well. But Kash Patel, with if you go back and look at all the interviews he did, like with Glenn Beck and with everybody else, even with Sean Ryan, you were supposed to be the savior of the FBI. You are, and you're ending up being the undertaker of the FBI. That you're going to bury that institution completely.
Like I said, you have to consider that Kash was a national security advisor under Trump 1.0.
Yep.
And Gorka was in on that bit too. So
Yep.
they're still talking to each other, and for some reason, it's my belief that Seb Gorka has managed to, what's the word I'm looking for? Pull the wool over Kash's eyes and say, "Oh no, our enemies, they're our friends. It's okay. They're nice. They're nice people.
Oh my
They're our
God.
friends."
Oh
That's my belief. We haven't seen I haven't seen a lot of Gorka out there running his mouth, but I suspect that he's running a shadow campaign behind the curtains, and that's what he's doing is he's gotten to Kash.
I have no doubt. I have no doubt. I mean, if you saw Gorka's tweets last week, he put out 3 tweets in almost immediate succession. First he attacked Laura Loomer about him being at the Qatar embassy's event, and then he turned around and said, "Well, I was on the tarmac when they brought the guy from Afghanistan who was the Abbey Gate bomb maker." Dude, that guy wasn't even a bomb maker. He was a scout. And you said he was the mastermind. Then you went, wait a minute, maybe we can't call him the mastermind. Let's call him part of the bomb making. And then they said, oh, wait a minute, no. Let's say alleged. And all of a sudden the story changed. And from the day they arrested him, Sarah, me, Benghazi tweets, and 3 or 4 other accounts were on top of this going, this guy is not the mastermind. What are you saying? This guy is the mastermind.
Funny how what I just said seems to be true.
No, I agree with you. There's a lot to unpack tonight. There is a lot to unpack tonight. And We're gonna get through it, but it's starting to. It's. I told Christy earlier today. I said, all I see is the body count going up. I don't see any kind of movement to keep it from turning into any kind of a major attack.
Y'all heard about the possible attack on New York today? Yeah, we heard about it. It was
Yeah,
bullshit.
yeah. That I mean, and we put. I saw Sarah's tweet, and we tweeted on top of it, and we said, look, Mamdani's about to win the election in New York. Do you really want to fuck that up?
Well,
If
not
ISIS,
only not only that, um, you're going to bomb your only ally in the financial capital of the world.
yep,
Really, you're going to do that?
trillion, 1.7 trillion a year, New York City generates.
Yeah, like I said, you're really going to do that?
Uh,
That's what I said. I looked at it and I typed bullshit. Hit send.
Nick, let's pop that next tweet up because I want to get through these tweets so we can get into the normal format. This is what I was talking about earlier with the FBI rolling too quickly. It's a 73-page indictment that the Department of Justice has put out. They categorically show 3 other conspirators. Clearly says co-conspirator. Those 3 people were not arrested. Only 2 were. They talk about what's that?
It's because they were FBI.
Well, they said separate from FBI because they gave the FBI guy another code name. UCE, they gave the FBI code name. So there was him. There was 3 co-conspirators. There was some guy in New York that was considered the father figure, that was the leader of the band of idiots that was guiding and helping them decide on whether the attack should happen or whether it shouldn't happen. Then they said that one of the guys had flown to Syria for a month and then come back, and that he had regular communications with Syria and Iraq. You didn't roll those guys up. Cash moved very quickly, and there's a reason that we're bringing this up. Nick, if you can pop up the next tweet behind this one, which is about Cash and his girlfriend, because yeah, okay. So now I'm sorry if Cash Patel gets upset that I'm putting his safety and security into risk because of what we're talking about, but I don't believe that bullshit line that your security is at risk when you've moved on to a military base and you're living there now. Cash Patel apparently, just like Christopher Wray, took an FBI jet and went to watch his girlfriend perform at a wrestling match, and then came back and said, okay, from now on, no more tracking of government jets, because this came out publicly that he had done this. Then he fired somebody from the FBI. Then he put out a tweet saying, any comment about me or my girlfriend is a threat to my own safety and security. Your girlfriend is the head of a media organization. Blaze Media is run by Cash's girlfriend, Alexis Wilkins. And Alexis appeared, and this is where I have a problem. On one side, you refuse to put the tweet, the threat assessment out that Joe Kent put out, saying that there's an Al-Qaeda threat to the United States. And then your girlfriend goes on to TV, onto a show and says, there are more sleeper cells waiting to launch attacks against the United States. Isn't that what Joe Kent said? And you called him clickbait and you said this is not credible. You literally have FBI special what's the terminology? Supervisory special agents going around and telling local law enforcement that this threat is not real. So what's your girlfriend talking about then? That there's additional sleeper cells? S2?
She's a honeypot.
Well, that we all know. That we all know. That we all know. I mean, there have been so many ties brought back to Israeli intelligence from her to Cash that there's something wrong. And I mean, there is something really wrong.
Well, you also have to look at the huge slant. If you watch any of the Blaze Media, God bless him. I love Glenn Beck. I love a lot of the folks that are on Blaze Media because I listen to them almost every morning. but they're heavily Israeli slanted. And if you look at some of the leaked information as of late about what's been going on in Israel at the Palestinian detention camps,
Yep.
um, every time I see that, and then we see this, this tells me that they're trying to make you look over here so that you're not seeing what's actually going on over here because Israel's supposed to be the nice guy. Well,
Yeah.
Israel's not. I don't give a crap about Israel. I don't care a crap about Palestine. I am totally indifferent between two sides. But when you have one side over here who's committing atrocities and the other side over here that's been committing atrocities, and they've both have been doing it in the name of a government somewhere, then they're both wrong.
Yeah.
And you can't cover that up. I mean,
No.
it's that simple.
No, I know what you're talking about. The video that was leaked by an Israeli a judicial officer
Yeah.
of the rapes that went on in the Palestinian camps, and then she apparently ran away and was going to commit suicide. They couldn't find her. Huge hunt inside of on Israeli beaches. Then a few hours later, they found her on the beach and they arrested her and they're prosecuting her. Netanyahu has said himself that there has never been such a PR disaster for Israel that as compared to what's happening right now.
Well, and it just gets worse. They're also considering lowering the age of consent to 14 years old now.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's something else that nobody's been talking about. And
Well, you can't.
basically that's the normalization of pedophilia.
Yep. Yep. But you're not allowed to talk about it. And this is the it. Look, I have no problem with Jewish people at all. But the state of Israel is not the Jewish people.
No.
That's like saying, okay, you can't talk about America because that's insulting to the Christian people. Well, that doesn't make sense.
That's actually
Christian
not
people,
true.
Christian people are not what the state is. Christian people are a belief system. And America is not run on the Christian values anymore, to be very honest.
No, and when you turn around, what other things that people don't understand is that there are many different secular parts of Judaism, but the
Yeah.
two main parts that stick out is the Torah adherence and then the Talmud adherence.
Yep.
And then somewhere in between, you have some people in there. So there's actually many groups in between that, just like they did back in the days of old, they followed Torah, but then they also went to the rabbis and listened to the rabbis talk about Talmud too, and then tried to make sense out of the two in between. And it's this is the battle that they're up against. The Talmud folks are the ones that are the Zionists. They're
Yeah.
following what they've been taught by the rabbis to follow. That's why you have all of these rabbis and you have these Jewish folks in New York that are supporting Mamdani.
Yep. 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 Good
So
point. Good.
isn't it funny how the communists and the Zionists now are starting to fall together?
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting point. I hadn't dug deep into it because we're so worried about if we bring up Israel. Oh my God, you're talking about the Jewish people. It's anti-Semitism. It's
No,
anti-Semitic. Did you hear? Did you hear?
we're not talking about the Jewish people. That we need to make that clear. We're not talking about the Jewish people.
No, we're talking about the state of Israel itself.
Yeah.
But did you see Ben Shapiro's video?
I saw it on my screen today, but I did not watch it. I can't stand that guy.
Oh my God, you
He seems like a
cannot
used car salesman.
you cannot be America first without being Israel first. That was what he said.
Like I said, he sounds like a used car salesman to me. I don't listen to him.
No, it's just unbelievable. That's just unbelievable.
But yeah,
Um,
back to the story about the Dearborn, Michigan thing. Yeah, when I saw that, I was just like, huh, they only caught two guys. Okay, the other three guys, they must have been FBI folks or what the hell they call them, confidential informants. You
yeah,
know, because it just stank of the whole story, just like with the Gretchen Whitmer kidnapping thing that was going on.
yep,
And gee,
yep.
where did that happen?
Michigan, my home state. I I'm still struggling with this because before we went on air last night. I was reading through the 73-page document that the Department of Justice put out, and I was drawing the little map of, okay, conspirator one, this is what he bought. Conspirator two, this is what he bought. This is who he was in contact with. This is who he was in contact with. Wait a minute, there's a conspirator three, there's a conspirator four, there's a conspirator five. Where are these guys? Why haven't they been arrested yet?
Well, once again, it goes back to what I said when we opened up the show. The FBI and the CIA and the other intelligence agencies don't share information because they're all in a dick measuring contest.
Yep,
They're all
that's
so
what that was about.
siloed. They're all so siloed that they've lost focus of what their mission is.
Yeah.
Either that or they're compromised, and or both.
I think it's compromised. Well, I do think it's compromised because there's no way that there's no way you could have carried out this arrest without having the rest of the intelligence community on board. And if you watch what Kyle Seraphin said on Alex Jones's show, he said flat out that Kash Patel purposely avoided the entire U.S. intelligence community and went ahead and made these arrests.
Well,
And
the question that I have about that too, did the FBI actually make the arrests? Or was it like it's always been in the past where the locals are the ones that make the arrest and the FBI takes credit for it?
well, that still hasn't been made clear yet, whether it was the Dearborn police that made the arrest or whether it was the FBI that made the arrest, because it's not in the indictment either. They
Well,
talk
that's how
about the
that's how they have plausible deniability to say that they can turn around just like they did with Trump's assassination attempt in Butler, PA. They can turn
yeah,
around and say, "Well, we had no coordination with the locals on the ground, so we didn't know what the other hand was doing." So it's the same story here, where they can say, "Well, yeah, later on we can keep the locals in the back pocket over here, and then when something goes wrong, we can whip out the it was the locals that did it, and we
yeah.
can blame them." It's the same playbook.
This has got to be dug into. I mean, this was a huge screw up. I mean, this was based on the information in the indictment, this was a massive screw up. You had five guys that were planning to carry out all of the
There
9/11
we go.
2.0 attack.
There we go. 808-285 SRJ. Kyle said local police did the work and Cash took credit.
That's just credit. Yep. That 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 that's what happened with Charlie Kirk's murder as well. Local police
Mhm.
did the work and Cash said, "Okay, we've made the arrest." I just
Yeah. Well, that's like I said, that's so they have plausible deniability when their story goes sideways, and then they can turn around. If anything is amiss, they're like, "Oh, they found the rifle in the woods. No, they found the rifle on the roof. No, they found the rifle over here." They could say it was police. It was local police incompetence.
yeah, yeah. That story only flies for so long. I mean, the American people have figured out there's a line of BS, there's a river of BS flowing right now, and where those tributaries from the river are shooting off to, people still haven't figured out. But that's going to become very clear very fast. Um, I have no idea what's going to happen here because the FBI is completely compromised, and you have no business arresting terrorists unless you know the entire intelligence community is involved.
Yeah, and if you knew there were five, common sense would tell you as a law enforcement official that you don't go roll up two and think you're just going to get lucky and get the other three or the other
No,
co-conspirators that are with them overseas. You have to work in conjunction with your counterparts that have the ability to work overseas, like the
yeah,
CIA, for instance. CIA can't operate on US soil unless they're attached to a domestic agency,
yep,
but the CIA can do whatever the hell they want abroad, apparently.
yeah, yep, yep. No, it's just we're gonna get into this because there's so many levels of institutional corruption going on right now that just it's unbelievable. Nick, you want to pop the next link? Okay. This was posted yesterday, I think. NCTC report, which is quite very credible in the stuff they come out with, put out this poster that Antifa Portland is sticking on flagpoles everywhere. Um, where they, if you roll down a little bit, Nick, so we can see the poster itself. If you see right here on the far left there, it says "Do not take the bait." Um, they will. Can you roll up a little bit further? No. Yeah, they will travel to different cities in order to create content that fits their narrative. Don't give in to them. Now, the narrative that all these guys, and these are all well-known, respected commentators on what's going on inside of America. And when you start saying that you don't give them the opportunity to spread their narrative, they're not spreading their narrative. They're only talking about what you're doing wrong. And is Antifa all of a sudden going to stop being Antifa just to make sure that there's no content? Then what are you part of the rallies for? The level of stupidity Antifa has gone to now to try and cover up their fingerprints on everything that's going on inside the U.S. that's now been exposed as being communist or very far left. It's actually very interesting watching, because you don't know what's going on, and when you try and cover it up, like you said in the poster, that don't give them the opportunity to create their narrative, that means Antifa will not operate like Antifa does, and that just makes no sense to me. But
Well, no,
Stu, you
it was exactly like they've been doing at these ICE facilities. So everybody thought when they started coming out wearing these animal costumes and everything that they were just out there being silly. No, they were painting a narrative. Look at us, we're peaceful. Look at the and then when they crossed that line, ICE was taking action against them, but they were peaceful because they were wearing silly clown costumes. That was the narrative they were trying to paint,
yep,
and they were mocking ICE basically and mocking MAGA, so to speak, because well, we're not MAGA, but we are MAGA, but we're not MAGA. We're America first. Um,
yeah,
if we look at, they're trying to paint MAGA in a bad light because MAGA is an existential threat to what they're trying to accomplish. And but MAGA has been infiltrated and been made to look like a bunch of clowns now. And a lot of them that have infiltrated are a bunch of clowns.
yeah,
And
yeah,
now all they're trying to do is to make those MAGA people look even more like clowns. So they're going to keep on going and doing what they're doing, but they're also doing a lot of things behind the scenes, which I'm sure we're going to get into later on.
yeah. Did you? I commented on this a couple of days ago in on one of our broadcasts. Antifa adopting the Hamas uniforms
Yeah.
to,
Yeah. Keith Graves put that out.
yeah, and I I took a very simple stand on this. I said, think back to when the pro-Palestine protests were going on university campuses. Everyone was dressing like Hamas, saying we are freedom fighters. Now all of a sudden you've got people. Now you've got Antifa saying we're going to dress like Hamas. That means their objective was to develop a brain, and I'll call it a brain fart, where all of a sudden Antifa is a freedom fighter instead of a terror organization, just like Hamas is a freedom fighter instead of a
Yeah.
terror organization.
Well, that's what they've always tried to make themselves look like. They're fighting for American freedom, to be able
Yeah,
to enjoy the benefits of their labor without any government infringement. So we have a question here from Dano, not in the lion's den. I have a question for S2. What's the value scale of fear of people continually talking about these organizations versus what damage is actually done? I think I'm going to need a little bit more context on that, Dano, because I don't really understand your question. Maybe this back and forth here, if I would say the value scale of fear of people talking continually about these organizations, um, I would tend to say that if you're asking, are we afraid to talk about them versus what damage we're actually doing to them? Um, we don't have to do any damage to them. They're doing all of the damage to themselves on their own.
yep,
And frankly, I've not been afraid to talk about these people for the last 10 years. I just don't give a shit.
yeah, yeah. No, I think Dan is a really active person on our live chat, so I'm sure he'll give us more clarity on this. But um, the more we talk about them, you have to understand from this point of view. The more we talk about them, the more their agenda is uncovered. The more their operation, the more their objectives, the more their goals are brought out in public, and it makes it more difficult for them to be able to deliver on what they want to do. Um, just like the simple example we just gave, where they're going to start dressing like Hamas fighters. You're trying to link yourself to a manufactured image of being freedom fighters when you're actually not freedom fighters, because Hamas are not freedom fighters either. And then if you ask Palestinians this, they're going to say the same thing, that Hamas are not freedom fighters. They're the people victimizing. They're the people victimizing us or causing us to be victimized. So whatever we're saying about Antifa, and we know they're watching, we know federal agencies are watching. We don't care what you think of what we have to say. We're going to tell the truth. And whether you like it or not, we don't care, because nobody understands this. The mainstream media is never going to touch this, because they're already sold out. And the things that we're talking about are step by step. We are taking your agenda apart. It's just like we're doing with the Long War series, where we are taking the terrorist agenda piece by piece, pulling it down, going, okay, this is what this part of the agenda is. This is what their part of their tactics are. This is part of what their operations are. And we're explaining it to you so you understand it better. They don't like us talking about it. It does significant damage to their objectives. But they can't come right out and say, well, screw you. Why are you talking about us? And you're not going to get us to stop talking about it. Me, S2, Chris, JJ Carroll, we're all very open about this. Mike Glover is also very open about this. You're not going to back us down by threatening us. That's not going to happen. And you need to come to the reality of understanding that we are ready to go to war with you, and we're not worried about what you can potentially do, because we know we know who the puppet masters behind you are, and what strings they're willing to pull, and how far
Yeah.
you can actually go.
Yeah, and they've tried threatening me before. That doesn't work out well for them.
Yeah. So it's just unbelievable. I mean, they would their objective is to create fear, and the more we talk about them, the less fear they can create. That's the part that they need to understand.
Well, when you pull the evil out of the shadows and you understand that it's only a shadow that you're afraid of, you're no longer afraid of the shadow.
You're no longer afraid of the shadow. Exactly. Nick, you want to put up the next link? All right. Elon put this up, but this wasn't actually Elon's tweet himself. He pulled this from somebody else. I actually saw the tweet go through earlier, where the real tweet was. New York City is not requiring any kind of identification for you to vote, which is absolutely amazing. That means you can vote 8, 9 times. There was a video that somebody put out saying that I voted 6 times, I voted 8 times. You're screwing the entire election. Can you roll this up a little bit, Nick? I want you to look at and can you zoom the screen up? I want people to see the first line of that ballot, where it's got the candidates' names.
Yeah, so the way they split up the ballot is purposeful, to where you can actually go in there. So they say independent was endorsed by so and so.
Yep.
Trump endorsed Cuomo, so he gets this. The Democrat
Republican.
Party the Democrat Party endorsed Curtis Sliwa. So they put those in. If you look at the columns there, and then you go down the other side, it's like reading a graph of,
Yeah,
okay, they were endorsed by this, this, and this. So you can put a check in that box, and you can put a check in that box, and you can put a check in that box, and effectively vote 6 times.
yeah. And I the entire election didn't what's his name? Adams, didn't he drop out of the election?
Yeah, and he's still
And
on the ballot.
his name is still on the ballot.
Yeah.
This is probably the most beautiful level of election tampering that I've seen in a long time. because you've put people that are no longer in the election in the on the ballot, and somehow you expect people to go, oh, wait a minute, this guy's still in the election, I want to vote for him. This guy's still in the election, I want to vote for him. And then you give us the big box on the side saying, write in your own candidate. It I really don't understand what the objective of this election is, other than, like Chris has been saying, this is an installation, this is not an election.
Yeah, well, it always has been.
Yeah, we're
This
going
is
to get into that one as well.
unfortunately, this is New York, and there's nothing you can do about it at the federal level. And it's not like you're going to ask the state to investigate itself, so nothing's going to happen there. There, this quite honestly stinks to me like they're trying to get people to react to this. And
Yeah,
frankly, I think it's to the point in New York where people need to react to it.
yeah, yeah. But again, there's there was a phone bank run by Jeremy Corbyn, who
Yeah,
is a
foreigner.
UK politician,
Yep.
which is a direct violation of Federal Election Commission laws.
Yep.
And I don't understand how that guy was allowed to. There we go. Wait a minute. We've got a clarification from Dano.
Well,
Is it fear of what they can do that's being pushed, or what they are doing as a viable threat?
yes and yes. Um, we know what Antifa is capable of doing. We know what they will do. So we know that what they are doing could potentially be a viable threat. So I'm sorry that's a really bad answer for you because it's not definitive, but we're dealing in variables here that change on any given day based on
Any
the
given hour.
conditions.
Any
Yeah,
given hour.
yeah. So that's a yes and a yes to your question.
Yeah. But again, we're going to get into this discussion because there's so many levels of warfare going on in the US right now, both psychological, legal, political, kinetic, all going on inside the US right now, and so many people are blind to what's happening. But let me get through these links. I think we've got maybe 2 or 3 more left. Nick, do you want? I guess this is the Jeremy Corbyn one. Can you slide that up so we can see? Can we see the actual picture? Phone bank for Zorhan with Jeremy Corbyn. Jeremy Corbyn is a UK politician, and he's running a phone bank for an American for a quote unquote American politician on behalf of the New York City Democratic Socialists of America, and you are violating Federal Election Commission laws, which I would think would automatically get you disqualified from the election to allow this to happen. But because you're a UK politician, you're going to find some way around this.
The problem is that these are not federal elections. These are city elections. They're municipal. So
Ah,
they're governed by the rules of the municipality themselves, which they have been able to mold those things into whatever they want to. So
so realistically,
if it's lawful in New York City, then there's no foul, no harm.
that's just unbelievable. I mean, so that means any country in the world could participate in a municipal election because it's okay to do that in New York.
It depends. It depends on the municipality's laws and statutes that are on the books that would prevent them from doing it. And this is probably, like you said, that's that loophole to get around that. Because as I've said many, many, many times, everybody thinks that that your eyes need to be turned out and your eyes need to be turned up because these elections are, or the battles that we're fighting are from without and from the top down. No, they're from within and from the bottom up.
The
That's why
bottom
they're
up. Yes.
attacking. That's why they're attacking the municipality elections first.
Yep. No, this is why tonight's episode is all about the insurgencies, the what we're calling insurrection politics, because all of these things are coming from the grassroots. They're not coming top down, they're coming bottom up. And bottom up is very dangerous because bottom up creates opportunities for legal for conflicts, for riots, that you basically force the federal government to take action. And that brings the crash between the citizens and the federal government, which is what they're actually shooting for. um
Greg is spot on here with his comment. He says, you
yeah.
only get prosecuted if you can find somebody to indict and convict. He's
Yep.
exactly spot on.
Yep. And there's no one to indict or convict in this one. This is the scary part, because you've got too many people playing, too many people carrying the ball in different places, so you cannot target one person. Um, we're headed to a very bad situation. We're headed to a very bad situation. Nick, you want to put the next one up? Because I think we've only got a couple more left to do. Okay. New Jersey, and this is now confirmed. 7 bomb threats were called into different election centers in New Jersey, which were all leaning Republican. At the same time, in Cumberland County, New Jersey, election machines went down because the Republicans were coming out at such a volume that it was making the 2024 turnout look minuscule compared to what was coming out today. There is a wave right now amongst the American people, those people who have woken up and realized what's going on. They are trying to take their country back. And the problem is that everyone is trying to stop them from being able to take their country back.
Everybody thinks that New Jersey's blue. I got news for you folks. It ain't. It's hardcore red. If you go out in the back alleys and every place else, it's hardcore red.
Yep. I mean, the map in the U.S. has been obliterated in terms of what state was what state. Um, my fear is now starting to become, where are they trying to push this now? Because your census was all bullshit. Um, you were counting illegals as part of the census just so you could adjust the numbers towards more Democratic seats. Now that Trump has started cleaning up the census numbers, we're actually finding out that the quote unquote blue states were actually red states. And they're losing so many Democratic seats in the process that now the Democrats are looking for another way to create a reason to bitch about Trump. And I don't understand where we're headed as to, and this is what tonight's conversation is about: is where we actually headed with this, because you are either going to force martial law, you are either going to force a civil war, or you are going to make America so unlivable, unworkable, that people are just going to go, screw it, I've had enough.
I think what's happening is the next wave of psychological conditioning. The way I see things is they have managed to blur so many lines now. We start with the gender ideology where we blur the lines between the sexes. We have they've started their gerrymandering bullshit again, where they've blurred the lines of what election districts are and things like that. So they're blurring the lines in all of these areas in essence to create a fog so that I would liken this to saying, you remember the old saying, circle the wagons. Well, that was an old saying back in the Wild Wild West when they were being attacked by Indians, and they would say circle the wagons. So they would take these wagons, and not only did they circle them, but first they ran them around in circles to create a dust cloud. And
Yep.
that gave them some cover in order to stop the wagons and get set and wait for the attack. And this
Yep.
is kind of what I think they're doing now is they're creating this smoke screen by blurring all of these lines. Well, They've come up with all of these lies that they've been continually pounding out there on social media. Oh, Trump's using food as a weapon, Trump's doing this, Trump's doing that. And meanwhile, they're trying to play on the old adage that if you tell a lie enough times, that eventually it becomes true.
Hurry up.
And if you watch some of the posts out on X, they twist the wording just enough. They tweak the wording just enough to
Yep.
where they can tell a lie and it sounds almost believably true. You have to learn how to look through that bullshit. And that's what a lot of people don't have the ability to do right now because they are so fatigued with everything that's going on.
Right. Well, my problem with this is that you can only do this so many times, and at some point it goes, well, that's it. We've had enough, and you get people picking up weapons. Justin Kim, the link I put up of the indictment, it definitely works because I just opened it. If it's telling you page not found, then that's a problem on your system. It's not a problem with the website. I would suggest you try it from a different browser because the indictment is there. I just opened the indictment. That link works. S2, I'm going to drop the remainder of the links because we're going to cover all the remainder and what we're going to discuss. Let's start off and talk about radical Islam. The problem I see is radical Islam is a level of absolute stupidity that you're not going to get what you want from radical Islam. All you're going to do is push the country towards war. And your cartels are doing the same thing. They are trying to force America to abandon its policy of attacking their bases in Venezuela, Colombia, etc., etc. Mexico now is the new conversation that the U.S. is going to send military into Mexico to take out the cartels that are funneling drugs and human smuggling and all of that, weapon smuggling into the U.S. Let's start from there because there, like I keep saying, there's a lot to unpack. There is a lot to unpack in this episode. Let's start from radical Islam and the cartels and let's look at how they've been able to damage the fabric of America. And then let's move into the illegals and talk about what they've been able to do in terms of damaging the fabric of the United States.
So the obvious first step was infiltration into our institutions and I mean institutions, I mean our colleges. So when you have the altruistic brains of young people going into places of higher learning that are willing to soak anything they can up like a sponge in their coursework. And unfortunately, their coursework has been co opted by these radicals
Yeah,
um, that are just teaching utter bullshit. And, we also had this whole thing about, oh, well, you should go get this degree and you should go get that degree. And nobody ever gave two thoughts to think, what am I going to be able to do with this degree when I get it? Like somebody said something about Middle East studies.
yeah,
I'm sorry, but what the fuck are you going to do with Middle East studies in the United States? You
yeah.
might could go get a job at the CIA. Not
Or
sure
some
where
think
that
tank.
would take you. Yeah, or the think tanks that are undermining the United States. Uh,
Yeah,
or gender studies. What the hell are you going to do with that? But those are just vehicles to drive more of this radical ideology into the minds of our young people, and that's really the battle. There is the hearts and minds. So
yeah.
they've got quite a bit of footing there, and from there it just starts working its way up through the host like a cancer.
Yeah. Did you see? I don't. I know that we've posted a couple pages from the course catalog from Michigan State University, from Texas State University, and there's two or three other universities that we posted course catalogs from. there were 3 pages of courses on LGBT studies. Um, and these are state universities, not even private, where you'd say, okay, it's a private university, whatever they want to teach, whatever they want to do, that's up to them. These are state universities teaching you must learn the history of the oppression of the homosexual, the LGBTQ plus um, lifestyle in the history of the United States. And you're going, wait a minute, why
That didn't
is this
start
being
until the
taught?
1930s.
It's, I mean, I think you and I have had this conversation. America's values started to change at the beginning of the 1990s, when the male character, and I'm going to call him a character instead of a gender, because the male character on television was slowly weakened. And as you weaken the male character, you saw families start to become very, very easy to disintegrate,
Yep.
because there was no longer that father figure. There was no longer that male strength in the household that was keeping everything together no matter what. Oh, it's all a partnership. Everything needs to be done together. And I'm not against the idea of a partnership, but a man is a man is a man is a man. Period. End of story.
No, even if you look back at the 70s, um, we used to have television shows, like All in the Family, for instance. I
Yep.
know that's probably not a fan for a lot of people, but I am. I loved Archie Bunker.
Archie
You had
Bunker was fantastic.
you had the show Good Times,
Yep.
Black Family. They did everything that they could. Yeah, did they live a hard life? Yeah, they lived a hard life. Okay. But dad went out to a job, he worked a job, mom worked a job, but the family at the end of the day was still there.
Yeah.
And that has been the goal of the communists. Yeah, married with children. I would loosely associate that with what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Very easily. That was where values started to change.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, that's been one of their primary objectives, has been to destroy the nuclear family, because without family, there is no cohesivity in society.
Yeah, yeah. And from when you start from there, I mean, you look at what the Hollywood agenda has been able to accomplish in movies, TV shows. You have taken apart the nuclear family, and at the same time, you've destroyed the fabric of what the America was built on. You and I mean, when we were growing up, the idea of not actually working for what we were eating was was unbelievable. There was that concept didn't exist. Our parents didn't teach us that you don't work for what you want. Today, the entitlement culture that exists has put that to rest. That you actually need to work for something.
Unfortunately, I think, and people aren't going to like to hear this. This unfortunately came from the Gen X generation,
Yeah,
because we know how we grew up. We grew up feral, running in the streets. Get out
yeah,
of the house. We don't. Mom and dad don't want you in the house. Get out of the house. Don't come home till dark. And then if you come home after dark, then they get mad at you for coming home from dark, send you to your room. Okay,
yeah,
great. Then I'm jumping out my window and going out and having partying with my friends.
yeah,
Um, that was kind of the way we were raised. But when we got old enough to have kids of our own, we decided that we didn't want our kids raised that way, because we thought it was terrible. Even though we didn't have any introspection for ourselves and understand that growing up that way was hard, but it made us who we are.
yeah,
And I
yeah,
don't think, honestly, I think Gen X is probably one of the best modern generations that there ever has been.
yeah,
But that's my
yeah.
opinion.
Well, look, Gen X was the last generation that actually held jobs, bought homes, bought cars, ran businesses. When you look at the generations that have come after us, it's all handouts. Living off
Mm,
of parents' money, living off of, well, I created something and now I'm a multimillionaire and I can just kick back and relax and I don't need to work anymore.
Well,
Um,
fortunately, with the millennial generation, they kind of woke up out of that stupor. For They woke up out of it really quick. I
yeah,
know a lot of the Gen Z, the millennials out there, that used to have that attitude of entitlement, and then when they actually went out and they had to get a job, and they actually started working in the world, they realized that everything that we've been getting told is a lie. So they're starting to come out of their stupor slowly. And I kind of liken this to the trends and things that teenagers go through when they're growing up.
Yeah.
It's a fad. It's a trend. You will grow out of it. And you will grow out of it very quick if you allow communism to take complete root in this country. You will grow up very quickly and you're not going to like the result.
Oh no, you're not. You're not gonna like what communism looks like. Standing in bread lines for, that one loaf of bread a week. You're not gonna like that. But for me, for me, when I look at what's going on right now, I mean, I grew up in the US from the early 70s all the way until the end of the 90s. I grew up in the States and I went to school there and I got my education there and I got my university degrees there. Then I started traveling around and working in different countries. The work ethic that is taught in the US does not exist in every country of the world. And that's the reason why the US became the greatest country in on the planet, because manufacturing was something that was controlled by the United States. Technology was something that was controlled by the United States. It was always development, 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 development. It wasn't that development was limited, but foreign countries were not being able to control as much as what they are now. Now, because everything's been outsourced, everything has been pushed out for more affordable labor. You've lost control of everything. And if you just look at what the H-1B scandal, H-1B has become a destruction for the American workforce. I know for a fact that there are certain companies that have announced that they are laying off 30, 40,000 people for AI. And they're turning around and outsourcing it. And a lot of people have come up with a new anagram for AI being another Indian.
Well, actually, what's happening is it's a lot of the managerial and directorship levels positions that are being eliminated.
Yep.
Um, I've personally witnessed that myself. So that's really what's happening. It's not the plumbers, it's not the electricians, it's the people that are in managerial positions, and the CEOs and the CFOs are embracing what they think is a boon to their industries, thinking that a machine can make better decisions than a person can. The problem
Exactly.
is the machine can only make the decisions that it's taught to make, and it's taught by
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's as to I think you and I have talked about this. AI is going to destroy a lot of things, and people don't realize how dangerous AI is. Because if you look at it from the point of view of AI right now is in a very, very immature state for what the public has access to. The AI that the government and that companies like Palantir are using are a level that we will never see for maybe 20, 30 years of being able to predict decision making. Um, what's your take on where AI is going to take America? Because people always talk about, it works off of learning, but there's a level of super AI behind that we don't even see as citizens.
It's a very tough question. I think with AI being as immature as it is, and the way people at the consumer level are using it is also very immature. Um, I think you're going to have a lot of people that are going to end up being dumber for it
Oh yeah,
because they're going to allow AI to. You have people out there that are actually letting AI write their college papers for them. We'll put
yep,
it that way, which means
yep,
that they don't really have the ability to retain that knowledge because they haven't actually studied it. Now, the only thing that I see that may be good out of it is it allows for you have to be very succinct when you ask AI a question.
yeah,
If you're not, and that requires a lot of detailed thought, if and you need to write it down. which unfortunately a lot of people have forgotten how to do that too.
Yep.
Um, you have to think about the questions that you're going to ask before you ask it. Otherwise, AI is going to not purposely omit, but it's going to omit. It's just going to give you the basic surface level meaning of what it thinks you want, which is going to make people a lot more stupid than they are now, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of studies out. I don't know if you've seen the studies that have come out that already said that the more you use AI, the more your brain turns to mash.
Well,
It,
yeah, because you don't have a reason to use your logical thought processes anymore. You think
yeah,
you've got this false sense of security that this agent that you're asking a question of has the ability to logically reason out all of the possibilities, but it's going to leave out a bunch of things because maybe it hasn't been taught that, or maybe it's
yeah,
been purposely taught the wrong thing.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That's true.
we've been talking about this for at least a decade now.
Yeah. But even the creator of AI, I mean, Sam Altman has even said the same thing, that this is dangerous. Where AI is going, and the problem I've gotten, and the reason I'm connecting it into the conversation, is our generation. You know, we read books, we watched documentaries, we watched movies, we learned stuff. Now the generation that's coming now, the span of attention is all of 30 seconds.
Yep.
You, I mean, if you were to sit down with a kid today and give them a book and say, read the book, they'd be like, what? Let me put this into AI and get the bullet points off of it. I'm not going to read the book. You have already created a vacuum where people can take advantage of it. And that's what social media has done. It's taken advantage of it.
Well, and that also was the social media arm of social media, if that makes any sense, was
Yeah.
fed by COVID.
Yep.
So we have populations all over the world that were already conditioned because what a lot of people didn't understand early on, even in Telegram, there were bots out there. People caught on to that pretty quick, though. You
Yeah.
could start looking at language patterns and you could understand you were talking to a bot. So people caught on to
Yep.
that fairly quickly. But AI has gotten a little more sophisticated now where it's hard to tell. It's very hard to tell unless you can understand linguistic patterns.
Yep.
And that's the biggest th- that's one of my biggest fears is that if people don't start using their brains and I would even say down to a spiritual point of view, starting to understand what discernment is and use that spiritual aspect of your being to tell when you're being told a lie.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why you and I are very good at what we do because we can look at something and based on what our past experience is, we could say, yeah, that's bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of people don't understand. I mean, we were talking about this before we came on air, that the ability to fool somebody is become so much easier now because everyone's looking at videos on X and on Facebook and going, "Yeah, this is true. Yeah, this is true," and they're not going, "Wait a minute, let me just go Google this and find out if this actually happened or not." That's why deep fakes have become such a beautiful industry for pushing a narrative that doesn't exist.
Or to your analogy of the attention of a gnat, the attention span of a gnat,
Yep.
did this happen 2 years ago? People
Yeah.
can't even remember that.
No, because they're not learning us. I mean, I I remember sitting down back when I was in high school. I remember sitting down and actually reading the classics because the school required us to read the classics, and there was a reason we were required to read the classics. There were certain values in there that we were supposed to learn. Today, those classics don't exist anymore. People don't even bother picking up a book and reading it anymore. I mean, it's part of the reason why bookstores are disappearing everywhere because people are no longer interested in feeding this. Well, I've got X, I've got AI, I've got Facebook, I've got YouTube. I'll learn from that. I don't need to kick back and go, okay, let me read a book. Let me sit back and for before I go to bed, spend an hour reading a book and learn something from there. Whatever people are telling you, you're buying. And if you're like you and me and you go, wait a minute, bullshit. People go, oh no, avoid him. He's a conspiracy theory. Oh, he's a troublemaker. Don't get him in, don't let him get involved in conversations. You are literally taking the intelligence level of what used to make up human beings and wiping it out.
I took all of my book collection that I had before we moved to our current location, and I got rid of it. I got rid of that entire collection of books that I had. Most of it
Right?
was fiction.
Yeah.
I've replaced it with a shit ton of other books.
Yeah.
That half of them I haven't even gotten around to reading yet. But because they're subject matters that interest me, I probably spend at least a half an hour to an hour reading a book every night. Every
Yep.
night.
Yep.
And my habit originally got started again by reading the Bible.
Yeah.
I used to spend an hour. I didn't do it every day, but I would portion off a period of my Sunday nights or afternoon, and I would spend it in my office reading the Bible. That was all I did. And then eventually I started branching off into other books and so forth. But that was how I did it, and that's really how people have to begin this again.
Yeah.
We have to begin this learning process. Otherwise, it's going to end up just like the cartoon Wall-E, where we got a bunch of fat people on floaty beds with big gulps and watching TV screens.
Yep. And that's where
I
we're
think
headed. I mean,
I
that's
think
the
we're only
scary part.
lacking the floaty beds now.
Yeah. We've gotten 90% of the way there. It's just that last 10% is left. I'm the same way. I mean, I've got when I moved from the US, I left all my books behind. And when I got to Pakistan, I started going, okay, it's time to buy more books. And I started delving more into subject matter stuff than I did into the fiction. I can't even I cannot even name a fiction book that I have read in the past 10 years. But if
I
you
use
ask me,
I use fiction books as a tool. Actually, it depends on who the author is. If I know that the author has the subject that the plot of the book or whatever, if I know that that person has been in that situation himself, I use those as active training tools.
yeah, yeah, but there's very few authors that actually write from experience. They're writing fabricated bullshit. Like Jack Carr and a lot of the guys in the spy genre, which is what I used to read a lot of. Um, they actually came from the intelligence world, so they
Yep.
understood what they're writing about. But nowadays, the people writing about intelligence and espionage have no clue what they're talking about.
No,
I picked the book
everybody
once.
thinks that open source intel is intel. It's not.
It's not. That's
It's a
Google.
news article. It's a news article.
That's Google. That's what open source intelligence is. Google. But I the reason I tie it in is because how much you read affects your spiritual journey. It affects your educational journey. It affects your character journey. And if you watch the decline that has happened from the, and I say from the 1990s because that's when I left the US and saw it declining. And what I'm seeing now is I literally grab my forehead and go, what in the hell is going on?
Well,
The
and
stuff.
it's also correlated to the completion of things. So, it used to be the saying that when you were looking for a job, that employers wanted to see that you finished college or that you finished high school at least, depending on the job you were trying to get. They wanted to see that you had the ability to finish something.
Yep.
If you can't finish a book, then you're not going to have the ability to finish anything else in your life either.
Very true. Very true. Very true. But it's just there's no finish anymore. I mean, a lot of people will get things started and then just go, okay, that's enough. I'm done with this. Let's move on to something else. That
That,
concept of actually delivering something doesn't exist anymore.
that's one of the reasons I love making knives for people. I love making custom things for people because it gives me a deadline by which I need to finish something, and I
Yeah,
know that I have to finish it. Otherwise, I don't get paid.
yeah, yeah. But again, that comes from that work ethic that we grew up with, as to actually do something, deliver something. Otherwise, we don't eat, and that doesn't exist anymore. And I hate saying it this way, but too many kids that I talk to today are like, well, my dad has money, so I'll live with my parents, and I'll go to school for as long as I want. I'll try and run a business of my own, but I really don't need to do anything for myself because, well, my parents have money. What if your parents don't have money? Then what do you do?
You're screwed.
That concept of delivery, that concept of working
You,
towards something doesn't exist anymore.
you become one of these people, one of these entitled people out on social media that bitches and whines that they're not getting their food stamps.
Yep, yep.
And honestly, if
And
I have to look at that situation for what it is, in all honesty, I don't give a crap what's causing it. I don't care who's causing it. I know the government shutdown's causing it. I know the Democrats have been doing it because they needed leverage for the elections. Okay, so be it.
yeah,
But honestly, I think this is a wake up call for a lot of people that your dependency upon the government is not going to be infinite. If
no.
something happens tomorrow and that government disappears, who's going to feed you?
Who's going to
Nobody.
feed? Yep, and that's the thing. That is the problem. That's the problem I don't understand. Um, when you are not able to earn for yourself, do for yourself, you have put yourself at a disadvantage to begin with. And I have this argument with my parents as well. My parents turn around to me and they say, we all took jobs and we all worked for somebody and got a paycheck. And I always go, look, yeah, you got a paycheck from somebody else. I built something of my own. So I'm not dependent on somebody taking my job away from me. I earn for myself. I have clients of my own. I live a very healthy, comfortable life. But this belongs to me. This was my delivery. And they're like, no,
Mhm.
no, 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 no. If you're not getting a paycheck from somebody, that you haven't done anything. I'm going, that mentality has disappeared. People are now putting their energy and efforts and their talents into building companies for themselves where they're actually employing others. And that turns into a system that runs forward. But if you look at the generation we're dealing with now, it is completely entitled. I should get what I want, when I want, how I want. Um, and I hate saying it this way, but the idea of the completion trophies that, yeah, I participated, so I deserve a trophy because I participated. We never had those. There was first, second, and third. That was the end of it. There was no trophies. There were no certificates. After that, you either finished first, second, third, and got a trophy, and that was the end of it, or you tried again next year and tried to
Yep.
get first, second, or third. Now, well, my child was participating in the race, so they got a participation certificate. Are you kidding me? Just because I showed up, I got something?
It's
You've
because some
destroyed that value.
it's because some Karen told her kid after he didn't get a trophy because he tried his hardest and cried that
Yep.
Karen thought it was going to be a good idea to say, "Well, I'm going to go to the coach and say next year let's try giving everybody a trophy so nobody's feelings get hurt."
Yeah. As to just, I mean, I need to hit this one with you. When did it become so wrong to have rough housing and have the little fight on the playground and toughen up kids, forget the parents, kids toughen up kids. Now you say something a little bit harsh to a child and they start crying. Oh, you hurt my feelings. Oh, you hurt my feelings.
That is the
When did the world become so weak?
that is the education system. That is the public education system that did that because they started getting involved in the kids' lives at home and thought that they had dominion over the kids and their lives at home. I had a situation that was ridiculous. I'm sitting with my son one night helping him do his homework or watching over him doing his homework and to be there and answer questions if I need to be. He turns to me and says something to me about his math homework, and I had, kind of tapped him on the back of his head and I said, "Are you stupid?"
Hmm.
And the next day he goes to school. Well, my son had a habit of not eating. And when you don't eat, he would get headaches. So
Right.
teacher noticed him acting a little funny and said, "What's wrong?" He said, "I have a headache." "Well, why do you have a headache?" "My dad hit me on the head last night."
Oh my God. Okay.
Next thing I know, I've got Child Protective Services coming over to my house and asking me why I hit my child upside the head. And when I finally got done talking to him, he looked at me and said, "I have no idea why I'm here." I said, "I don't either. You can leave now."
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean,
That was the education system, and that's when it happened.
yeah. Yeah. When we became soft on kids, it became that was the end of everything that America stood for. Because I still remember, taking a beating and going to school and going, "Oh, nothing happened." Now you can't even
Kids today
say
have no idea what abuse is.
oh, if they saw the abuse that we went through in our childhoods, they'd run away from home because they'd be like,
Make
"Oh my God,
make corporal punishment great again.
yeah." Well, it's not that you need to go back to absolute violent abuse. I mean, I know a lot of kids who went through really violent abuse in their childhoods, but the idea of coddling kids, you're screwing them up for the rest of their lives because they cannot do anything because, oh, you hurt my feelings. Oh, I remember my last year in high school. I had enough credits to graduate. Actually, I had more credits than what I need to graduate. I had a great GPA. I already got my admission into a really good university. I took a literature class just for the hell of it. And I read all the books, but I said I'm not writing your news. I'm not writing your papers, and I'm not taking your exams. Teacher said I'm going to flunk you. I said go for it. You're flunking or passing me does not affect my GPA. Does not affect whether I get into a university or not. I'm doing this for shits and giggles. So go ahead and flunk me.
It's
They
like
called my
senior
dad.
year.
Yeah, it was my senior year. They called my dad, and my dad's like, "Okay, what's the problem?" He said, "Well, your kid said this." He goes, "This is his report card. These are his transcripts. This is the university admission. What exactly do you think your class is going to do to what he's got planned for the future?" He took this class because he just wanted something to do. He wanted to read something, and he took a literature class. The teacher went ballistic on how is he wasting my time. He's like, my dad goes, uh, "I'm paying your salary. He's not
Yes.
wasting your time.
You're on my time.
You're on my salary. So if he wants to come and sit in class and goof around for the entire class, what's your problem?" And the teacher just was like, he went, "The next time you call me in, make sure my son's kicked the shit out of somebody, because if you call me in for this again, I'm gonna kick the shit out of somebody."
Oh yeah.
But I mean, our parents, our parents, us as parents, were very different. Um, Parents today, oh my God, you are destroying the fabric of America. You are destroying the fabric of the United States.
Amazing.
But uh, all of this, the reason we bring this up is because all of these useful idiots that have been created now, that you hurt my feelings, are all part of these Antifa movements. They're all part of who are being radicalized. They're all part of. They are the low hanging fruit that are being picked up and used in however they want to be used, because they don't have this to go, wait a minute, what you're telling me is not right. What you're telling me is not what my parents taught me. They're going, no, no, I want more entitlement. I want more entitlement. I want more entitlement. You have created the atmosphere where your own children are being taken care of, being taken advantage of. And it's because our generation, the generation after us, those two generations were built on some kind of values. The generation that came after that generation went, screw it. We let the schools handle it. And when you let the schools handle it, all of a sudden you turned into blue hair.
Yep. Hey,
And blue,
I think we got to have that window in there for Carnival somewhere along the way here.
yeah, yep. Nick, you have the Carnival video ready to go?
There it is.
That was a wrong Carnival video.
So what do we have here? Is this the hero?
Okay, did you hear about this? This was the user submitted story. No, this is the hero of the day. Somebody had broken into a home and had a child taken hostage.
Yeah, I did see this. This was an
Yeah?
awesome shot. Yeah,
This is a
awesome
great
shot.
video. I'm not going to explain it too much because the video speaks for itself. Go ahead, Nick, play this. Go ahead and play the video.
Drop the knife. Bring the child out of the room. Let me see your hands right now. Let me see your hands.
You are going to get
Let
shot.
me see your hands right now. Let me see your hands right now. Let me see your hands right now. I'll kill you. I'll kill you. Drop the knife. Drop it. Come on, baby. Come on.
Central nervous system was disconnected instantly.
Yep, that is the immediate disconnection. That this is what we've gotten to. I mean, this is what we've gotten to, and this is what bugs me is that you've got no more values anymore, and the problem is that it's just going to get worse and worse and worse and worse until parents go, that's enough. We're not going to allow this to happen anymore. And that's my fear because America is headed to we're headed to a tipping point right now. And that tipping point is it's either win or lose. And win or lose means you either keep the country or the communists take the country or the radicals take the country. And then America is no longer America anymore.
Nope. And I'm going to be sitting out in the country here, just growing my vegetables and working my farm and like, tell them to kiss my ass. Come on my property, please. There's plenty of spots out in the back 40 for you.
Yeah, that's my position as well. Go ahead, come on, try it. Step into my domain. Find out what happens here. I don't call. One of my friends said this to me. He said, there will never be a call to the police department from your house. That will never happen because you sort it out. You get rid of whatever evidence is left, and you move forward from there.
That's it. And dead men tell no tales.
Exactly. That's what we grew up understanding. Dead men tell no tales. So it's better to put them in the ground than let them, go and say, "Oh, this is what happened to me. This is what happened to me." Nick, can you run Chris's subscription video for Survival Dispatch? Because I think that's the video.
The world is getting more dangerous and unpredictable every day. Your family's safety depends on how prepared you are. For just $7.99 a month or $74.99 a year with 2.5 months free, Survival Dispatch Guardian membership gives you powerful tools and resources to stay ready. When you join, you're automatically enrolled in the Survival Dispatch emergency notification system, and you'll get critical alerts fast. You'll also get an invite to our private, high-traffic signal chat where members and experts share breaking intel. Guardians receive all 37 of our Survival Dispatch Insider e-magazines, normally $9.99 each, a $370 value, plus early access to our exclusive instructional videos before they go public. Join thousands of like-minded Americans who refuse to be caught off guard. Become a Survival Dispatch Guardian today at www.survivaldispatch.news/subscribe.
Okay. We've lost power here, so we're on the emergency backup. That's why the light's a little bit different than what it was earlier. Let's talk about. No, we've been having rainstorms for the past couple of days. Early this morning, we had a rainstorm start around 5 in the morning, and it rained and I mean heavy rain, hail, until around noon, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And we didn't have power until about 4 in the afternoon.
Shoot, we had rain for 5 days straight last week.
We're scared of those 5-day rains. The problem we have is in Pakistan, it either does not rain, or when it does start raining, it never stops.
Yeah.
Then we get floods and we get all the garbage that comes up because of that, and we just can't deal with it. But today we had a really heavy rainstorm, and I think they're still trying to fix some of the power issues, because electricity has been coming and going throughout the evening. And it's 6:30 in the morning here. And this is not a normal outage time for us. So I think they're playing with the electricity grid again before power comes back, before they finally can say, yes, we've restored power. I want to take you on a different direction. We've got about 15 minutes left before we have to start wrapping up the show. Where do you see all of this going? Because the number of things happening, it doesn't forebode for anything good to be left over in the U.S. You are literally breaking the U.S. in every possible way you can, whether it be the Democrats with their entitlements, whether it be the infighting, whether it be the ramping up of violence from different political parties. And I'm being polite when I say different political parties, rather than just calling out the Democrats straight away and saying they're the ones ramping up violence. Then you look at the radicals, you look at Antifa, you look at the insurrectionists. What's the end game? In your opinion, what's the end game?
I think the globalist end game is to split up this country into economic zones, to where you'll have, and that's, they pretty much have laid all of that out in their Agenda 2030 plan, where they want to basically balkanize the United States, and they're doing that. I mean, as an example, today it was announced for some news article or poll that 800,000 New Yorkers would leave New York if Mamdani was elected.
Yep.
And the places where they said they were going to go was going to be North Carolina, Tennessee, and Florida.
Yep.
My question is, why not Georgia and South Carolina? Why aren't they included in those numbers?
Yeah.
That was very curious to me.
It's
so where I see things going, I see things. The best book to read about this, honestly, is Clay Martin's book, Wrath of the Wendigo.
Yeah. Yep.
If you read that book, you'll understand exactly what's been going on and what the future state looks like. Because he and I have talked about this a few times back and forth through email, that this is really the only way that we see this ending up. And there are going to be violent factions in this balkanization that occurs.
Yeah.
It's not going to be just about defending a particular region. It's going to be warring tribes. We've already gone tribal.
Yep.
We have the MAGA tribe. We have the Make America First tribe. We have the Democrat tribes. We have John Curry. No, they are not. I can promise you they are not. John Curry says South Carolina and Georgia taxes are
I
higher.
see that. Yep.
And no, they are not. I promise you they're not. I have
Lower.
experience. Yeah. But okay, Bab, it was called Wrath of the Wendigo by Clay Martin.
Yep. Good book. I finally read it. I finally got it. I finally got time out to read it.
I love Clay's books, but balkanization is where I see this going. It's sad to say, but this has been the communist wet dream, was to be able to split this country up and divide it ever since we became the United States. And it's going to take, this is going to be a battle that our grandkids are going to be fighting to try to restore this. It's not going to happen in our lifetime, unfortunately.
We've been saying this for a while now, that once the collapse starts, and there was a comment in the chat saying that, you know, the collapse has already started. The collapse has already started, but it's reversible right now. The collapse that we're talking about, once that collapse starts and it becomes an armed revolution, that is not reversible. That means a lot of people will die.
Well, and that's what the socialist revolutionaries want. They want this to become an armed conflict. They see that they think there is no other they think there is no other solution to this. And frankly,
it's other countries. I mean, that's how socialism has conquered other countries, is armed revolution. It's never been, you know, hand over the country and become socialist.
Yeah. And, you know, we see what I'm going to throw this out there because the Democrats are dumb as rocks. They have no idea. The liberal progressives and the Democrats are dumb as rocks. And I'm going to tell you why. Because I've been reading Antifa's after action reports, and they don't even understand. They think that their peaceful No Kings rally is going to make any. They think that it's going to make some sort of a difference out there. Well, guess what, No Kings people and Democrats, Antifa has been mixing into your protests, and they have been co-opting your protests. They have people inside your group. They get mixed into your No Kings rallies, and they break off and they do their own unlawful breakaway march in front of you. They leave you behind. But at the same time, they're also recruiting people from within those groups to become agitators. So, yeah, you people are dumb as rocks for doing what you're doing. You're giving them the vehicle to co-opt your movement. And somehow or other, this I think is a rallying point for all Americans, regardless of whether you like Donald Trump or not. You're being co-opted by an evil organization that wants to implement an anarcho-communist ideology into this country.
Yep.
And I don't think that I've been to these No Kings rallies. I go out there and I observe. These people are not the violent people that they want you to think they are. They want to be peaceful. They want to be heard. Have things happened in our government that the Democrats have created that are hurting people? Yes, absolutely. Can you blame it on Republicans? Sure, you can blame some of it on their inaction.
Yeah.
I think it's bad from both sides. So allowing these people to co-opt you, you're fools. Hopefully somebody out there is listening.
No, I think a lot of people are listening, but the problem is that people have not figured out what they can do to reverse it. Again, when you are looking at a wave of bullshit coming at you in social media, and again, my problem, the problem we keep repeating is, look at who you're following, because whatever the algorithm on your social media is doing, it's doing it based on who you're following or who you're not following. If you're following people that are speaking the truth, you're going to know what's actually going on and how to combat it. But if you're going, okay, I'm going to follow a little bit from here, 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 and try and get a big picture, you're gonna get overwhelmed with bullshit. This is the reason why we keep saying over and over that you need to find your sources now. Figure out who you can trust, whose opinion matters, who gives you the truth. If you don't get the truth in what you're seeing, you are going to end up being low-hanging fruit. And these Antifa types, the Social Democrats, the Republicans that are against the MAGA movement, they will all take advantage of you because you're not as informed as to the agenda as to what they're trying to pass on to you.
What I look at is the same way I assess what a psyop is. There's one main theme in all of it is person that is disseminating information to you. What do they have to gain by disseminating that information to you?
Yep.
And one of the things that I love about being part of the SDN network is that I'm not compensated for being on the podcast at all.
Me either.
And I do it because I want people to know what the truth is. I want people to know how to find out what the real truth is.
Yeah.
And I'm usually not wrong. I don't want to sound like I'm bragging, but I'm usually not wrong. And if I can teach people how to sniff out the bullshit that's out there and to walk away from those sources that are bullshit, then I've done my job.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. But as to you and I both know the number of fake accounts created nowadays to carry out a ongoing narrative, or what we call in our world a influence operation, where they are trying to pass a narrative on and build that narrative and build that narrative and build that narrative. There's a lot of fake accounts out there, and we brought this up to Elon Musk a number of times in tweets that you need to start policing better. Bots, fake accounts, pro-terrorism, pro-violence, all these things need to disappear from X. If you don't get rid of them, people are going to end up leaving X. They're going to find other places to go.
In the last 2 weeks, the number of Antifa-like accounts that I saw created was unprecedented.
Yeah.
I mean, just unprecedented.
Yep.
I've never seen anything like this before. And it's like almost every other account that I see out there now is one of those types of accounts.
Yeah.
And when you call them out, and they don't respond, or they have nothing to say, that's pretty much how you can tell that they're fake. And I just call them out. I say, you're fake and gay.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we've on our side of the world, because the conflict between India, Pakistan, and Pakistan, Afghanistan, we see a number of fake accounts that are coming out from both those countries. It's absolutely hilarious when you see some of the crap they put out. It is fake videos. It is the other day they fooled I don't know if they fooled him or if he was a willing participant. The Taliban have apparently learned how to fly Black Hawk helicopters. And yeah, there were pictures, but pictures, not video, pictures of live fire exercises of Black Hawk helicopters by the Taliban. And I'm looking at the pictures. I'm going, wait a minute. If this guy has them, they've got to be someplace else on the internet. So I dropped it into Google Images and I said, reverse search. It came back to all pro-Taliban accounts. Mm-hmm. There was not a single news source. There was not a single media source that could identify that as being an actual picture. And I went, wow. So this is what we've turned into now, is that it's 15, 20 X accounts that are going to verify for me that this actually happened.
Yeah. And if you can't trust Grok either, because Grok does not go outside the X ecosystem
or Reddit.
It stays within that ecosystem, and it doesn't even go out and scour the web per se most of the time.
No.
Or it'll go to what it considers to be authoritative sources like Wikipedia that's run by the CIA.
Like Wikipedia is authoritative.
Yeah.
That time when Wikipedia was authoritative is gone.
It was never there. It was never there. It was always a psyop.
Yeah, but
probably a bunch of Indians running it, actually.
Well, if you look at it, I mean, the fact that you could turn off the ability to edit certain Indian accounts or certain Indian pages is really interesting. But you don't have that power to do that with Pakistan or with any other country. any country that's favorable to India, and speaking from a Pakistani account holder point of view, we spent 6-7 months shadow banned because of India, because India didn't like what we had to say about India on X. And I just went, wow. So I'm paying every month as a premium user. And because India doesn't like what I have to say, you're shadow banning me and I'm still paying every month. What's the point of paying for an X premium membership? And we finally brought it up with support and said, if you don't want us to pay, that's fine. We'll get rid of the blue check mark, but we'll also get rid of X. We won't use X anymore. All of a sudden things got better.
I'm still shadow banned on YouTube.
Oh, YouTube, forget. YouTube is, I don't want to even get into YouTube. We posted a video back in 2022. I did an interview with Russia Today on terrorism in Pakistan. They blew out the entire Command 11 channel, and they banned my Gmail ID, so I couldn't create it again. I had to create a new Gmail ID, create a new user on YouTube, and create a new Command 11 account just because of one interview on Russia Today. And that was when Russia and the Ukraine had just started to fight each other. And I went, at least look at the damn video. The video had nothing to do with Russia or Ukraine. It had to do with terrorism in Pakistan and Afghanistan. And you blew away my entire channel for that. But even today, I don't
working
trust
at YouTube.
I don't trust YouTube even today. I keep backups of every video I've got on YouTube, because if you blow the channel away, okay, I at least have all my data.
I'm gonna come back.
Yeah, and I'm gonna come back even more pissed off. But the propaganda.
You asked me where I thought we were going. I think that's where we're headed.
Well, I think we're headed beyond balkanization. My fear is that we're headed way beyond balkanization. I think the goal is to not just economic sectors, but to break America into pieces. And once the election is over today, and we see what results came out of where, we're going to know a lot more as to whether whose agenda was successful and whose agenda wasn't successful.
Well, the thing with balkanization, as you pointed out earlier, is that once you're able to break sections of a country up like that, then you become what happened to the Soviet Union, and smaller areas are easier to control.
Yep. Just like BLM.
Yep.
Just like BLM. But I mean, I really want to see the Trump administration take action against all the people who have disrupted, misused the Constitution of the United States, misused their powers of office, because unless that lesson is taught, it's going to happen again.
Well, there's the good news on that is that more stuff has come out on Comey today.
Yeah.
And Brennan is connected to that. And I think Brennan's going to be the next one that gets exposed out there. And I do believe there are going to be some people that are going to get thrown under the jail. Folks, we've only been into this for 10 months now. We got a whole 3 years to go. And we're not even, we had a bit of a reprieve when Trump was reelected, but they're going to keep on hammering at him just like he did in Trump 1.0.
Yep.
But I still want to have faith in our justice system and that these people will be brought to justice. And I would like to see Obama be one of those people.
Oh my God, he's the ringleader. He needs to be taken down. You take down Obama. Well, the thing I think right now is that they're going after everyone around Obama so they can build more evidence on Obama.
Well, truthfully, I don't think Obama is the ringleader. I think John Brennan is.
Well, Brendan, did you see Brennan's interview when he was at, I think it was the Heritage Foundation, where the guy asked him that, what about this? What about this? And he went, that's just lies. That's disinformation. I went, dude, that's exactly how someone replies when they're trying to pass disinformation. That's disinformation. That's a conspiracy theory. Come on. You were head of
Yeah.
the CIA. You know better than that.
Well, that's why I say I don't think it was Obama. Obama was the CIA installed puppet.
Yeah.
He takes his marching orders from the CIA.
Yeah.
And John Brennan was at the heart of that animal at that point at that point in time. And
Yeah.
I think, and I find it curious that John Ratcliffe has been very quiet.
Yeah, Ratcliffe has been very quiet, hasn't he? I hadn't paid attention to that, but yeah, Ratcliffe has been very quiet throughout this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
But didn't Ratcliffe was also part of CIA during Brennan's time, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Which explains a lot of why he's probably quiet.
Or not. Could be
Yeah.
that he knows where all the skeletons are buried.
Let's see, because my problem with the Trump administration right now is there's a lot of people that are compromised inside the administration. And President Trump needs to deal with those people that are compromised before it collapses his administration as a whole.
Yeah, and they need to be dealt with swiftly. This pardon my French, fucking around with them, while it's fun and entertaining, they need to be dealt with in a most expeditious way.
Completely agree. Lessons need to be taught, and they need to be taught swiftly and painfully.
Well, it's like, what are you waiting on? You have the evidence. I understand the things that we talked about tonight, particularly with that bust in Michigan, that you can't jump the gun. You need to get all of them in the bag before you can go after them. But you have some right now, particularly politicians. You have Tish James out of New York. She's guilty of mortgage fraud. You've got Adam Schiff guilty of mortgage fraud, guilty of being part of the Russia hoax. Proven. They can be dealt with immediately. They don't have to wait.
Nope.
They may have been part of that conspiracy, but there's a grander conspiracy behind the smaller conspiracies that are going on. You can deal with that from the periphery, but you need to deal with these things that are small, low-hanging fruit now, and deal with them in such a way that you teach them a lesson, because this is all that communists understand. They only understand getting punched in the face.
Yeah. That's the only thing they understand is that it's like we say about terrorists. The only thing a terrorist understands is a bullet to the head. That's their choice. That's their choice of operations. That's that's the method that needs to be used with them as well. The same thing exists in the U.S. That when you don't understand anything other than being punched in the face, then punch them in the face.
Yep.
But it just
I agree with what Mike A says. Fire Cash Patel and replace him with Bongino. Fire Pam Bondi and replace her with Judge Deneen. I don't know about that, but definitely replace Patel with Bongino. Bongino's been very quiet too.
Bongino isn't happy. If you paid attention to Bongino, he has not been happy.
Yep.
He was ready to leave the FBI at one point. Right after the Epstein interview they gave, Bongino was ready to leave the FBI because he was like, I think he put a tweet out as well. What I've seen, I cannot come back from.
Yep. So my headset's about ready to die here.
We're done with our episode for the night as well. I just have to wrap up.
Yeah.
So
let's go ahead and get to it.
Yep. So we've got the user video that was sent to us, the audience video that was sent to us from Bruno. God bless Bruno. I mean, God, he is Dale, Tim Smith, Astro Mom. These are all probably the most active people in our Guardians chat. And the video he sent to us, Bruno's good. I mean, he's a machine when it comes to pumping news. Nick, can you put up Bruno's video? Elon dropped a bombshell publicly calling for the arrest of politicians involved in a massive money laundering scheme of taxpayer money through non-governmental organizations, NGOs. He calls for attorney Pam Bondi to put the hammer down on the culprits. Do you support this? Yes or no? I really don't think Pam Bondi can do it because she's also compromised. Her, Susie Wiles, Kash Patel, Seb Gorka, these are all compromised people. I don't know if Bondi can do it, but if we got a real attorney general in DC, then it's completely possible that this could actually be solved.
Eric Schmidt for Attorney General.
There you go. Eric Schmidt for Attorney General. There you go. But that brings us to a close for tonight. We'll call this part one of the
We got the conflicted question. We got the conflicted question.
I always forget the conflicted question.
Okay, everybody, before I read this off again, I want to see some thumbs up and likes out there. So let's get it moving. Here comes the conflicted question. The president made a phone call to Lieutenant Colonel Barone, a man who talked his entire unit into mutinying. He disregarded his orders and took advantage of an event to turn his back on his country when it needed him the most. If you were the president dealing with this situation, what would you tell Colonel Barone? Go, Khalid.
This is easy. Stand them up and execute. That's mutiny. That is flat out mutiny. And there is no second guess on mutiny. It's BFE. That's the end of the story with him. I don't even negotiate on that.
That was my same answer.
Wow. We both end up on the same.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that we've been taught over the past 15 years of being in the battlefield. You don't accept mutiny. You do not accept mutiny. Mutiny today it's being a traitor tomorrow, and that puts you and everybody else at risk. Take the threat out completely. Just be done with it, and that sends a very clear message as well.
There's no reconciliation for betrayal.
No, you betray once. I'm one of those people that I will tolerate a small betrayal once, but when you do it a second time, then it's pattern. It's not a mistake. It's habit, and then it's time to put you out to pasture, or put you underneath the pasture, one or the other.
Yep.
So with that, we're going to call that the end of round one on the insurgency politics. I'm holding off on a lot of points because I want to see what happens in the elections today. I'm expecting some very dramatic results and very bad dramatic results. Mamdani winning in New York City is very bad. On the 10th of November, Jolani is headed back to the U.S. And Al Qaeda will be in the White House, and that is a phrase I never thought I would ever utter from my mouth. That Al Qaeda will be in the White House meeting with Donald Trump. But I'm holding off until the election is over because I really want to see how things shape up. And next Tuesday we'll pick up from where we left off and we'll dig deeper. But be careful out there, guys. There's a lot of games going on. There's a lot of people trying to pass narratives and intentionally deceive you into believing something's going on that's not going on. S2, anything before we wrap it up for the night?
No, I think I've run my mouth enough tonight.
So with that, thank you all for watching. Carnival, please, if you're interested in finding a solution that will help you prepare for anything that's coming, Carnival, 25-year shelf life, proper meat solution that is not like the crap that you're going to buy out in the market. 6 ounces, I think Chris said, turns into a pound and a half of meat, which is outstanding, and it's actual meat. I'm still waiting, Dean, for my first batch to arrive. Everything I've heard about Carnival, it's a fantastic solution in terms of food. Eat Meat is the Survival Dispatch discount code. If you are buying Carnival, please use the discount code. If you buy over $100 in Carnival, you will end up getting free shipping. And Chris said once the guys are really good about sending stuff out in big orders. So you may end up getting some great merch from Carnival in the process, maybe a t-shirt, maybe a hat. If you are a weapons owner, CCW safe. There was a conversation running in our Guardians chat about best insurance for a weapons owner. CCW Safe is who we believe in at Survival Dispatch. When I land back in the US, I will be getting a CCW Safe insurance policy as well. And it's the best way to go because you will not be forced into taking a plea deal. You can actually fight a case if you had to defend yourself. And that's the only time we pull a weapon is when you're defending yourself. You're not out there killing people. You're out there defending yourselves. So with that, from S2, from myself, from the whole Survival Dispatch team, like, share, comment, and come back and join us tomorrow night. We will continue on with the Long War series, which is going to give you more information into what's coming down the pipe towards the United States. And for us, that's it. Thank you. Good night. And enjoy the next video. God bless America.
Hoorah.
America is worth fighting for, and it's time to unite, make it healthy and great again. Dividing us is how they play, now we're aware and won't retreat. So now the future of our country is before us, here at hand. And those leaders that we trusted, they're no longer past the test. Change to change. Let's all unite and make our stand. Change, regardless of your age. Saving America is our plan. Freedom, liberty. 'Cause now is the time. Yeah. Watched our borders open wide as we ignore our homeless families and veterans out on the street. Blessing those who commit these crimes, paying for wars, it's just their game. These Gold Star families that you spit on, that you devastate their world, are immune to your projections. Americans now understand the truth. Joe Biden claiming democracy. American today. Where's your shady that's up to an accident? And I'll never day. 'Cause now is the time. Constant donations to other countries. Politicians keep taking as Americans keep getting screwed. Corporate sellout rock and rollers. Awake we engage. Americans are getting older. Time has changed me. But they can rest time, fight for the land of the free.